This is Module 6, Lesson 20. Read the objective while I read it out loud. I can use coordinate systems to solve real-world problems. So yesterday's lesson, we were looking at graphs and making assumptions. That one problem yesterday about the rain and making an inference. Can you look at the data and decide, oh, remember yesterday there was no rain between, I think, 3:30 and 4:30, and that was because the line was flat. So the idea is using the coordinate system to solve real world problems. So we're going to start off with a sprint. We're going to start off with subtracting fractions from a whole number, continuing to practice that idea. So you need to get out your sprint. Module 6, Lesson 20 is attached to your problem set packet. So I'll give you a second to get that out. It's page 302 is what you're looking at. All right. So you have 1 minute to subtract fractions from a whole number to see how far you get. Ready? All right. So it's going to take you, I did show my work over here. And yes, I did go past a little bit past a minute. All right. So 3.5, 2.5, 1.5, half, 2/3, 1 2/3, 3 2/3, 3 1/3, 1 1/3, 1 3/4, 1 1/4, 2 1/4, 2 3/4, 3 1/4, 1 9/10, 2 1/10, 1 3/10, 3 7/10, 2 4/5, 2 3/5, 2 1/5, 2 2/5. All right. So if you look closely at what I did here, is I used some of the same strategies that I was using in our fluency this past week, where I would take 1 away and that would leave a 1 whole fraction over here. And in order to subtract, you have to have a common denominator. So I knew it based on this denominator what this fraction would look like. So 1 4/4, 4 take away 4 take away 3 is 1/4. So if you want to look to see how I solve these, you can stop and take a look of how I broke those down. All right, turn the page. And we are now doing sprint side B. Again, subtracting fractions from a whole number. How many did you get correct on the other side? And then how many do you want to improve by? So write down the actual number. Did you get 15? Did you get 17? And then write down how much you would like to improve on now that you kind of got the hang of it again. All right, so here we go. Ready, set. So I got as far as I did last time, but I did use my strategy the whole way down so that you could see where my numbers are coming from if you're still trying to establish this skill. So 1/2, 1 1/2, 2 1/2, 3 1/2, 3/4, 1 3/4, 3 3/4, 3 1/4, 1 1/4, 1 2/3, 1 1/3, 2 1/3, 2 2/3, 3 1/3, 2 2/9, 1 1/10, 3 3/10, 2 7/10, 1 4/5, 1 3/5, 1 1/5, 2 2/5. All right, so remember, part of your homework is to go back and complete the table, the two tables, or however far you want to complete these 2 pages completely. All right, so going back to our fluency for today, now we're going to practice expressing fractions as decimals. So you're going to take your fraction and turn it into a decimal. Now, do you remember what that looks like? Do you remember how to turn this into a decimal? Do you remember that? All right, think about that. Go through, express your fractions as decimals, and come back and check your work. All right, so let's check our work. So 1/2 becomes 0.5. 1/20 becomes 0.05. 1/4 becomes 0.25. 8/20 becomes 0.4. 7/5 becomes 1.4. 9/50 becomes 0.18. 3/2 becomes 1.5 because it's 1.5. 6/20 is 0.3. 3/5 becomes 0.6. 3/50 becomes 0.06. 101/50 becomes 2.02. 3/4 is 75 cents. 3/4 out of $1. 4/4 out of 4/4 is $1 as a whole. 1/25 is 4 100ths, which is 0.04. 4/25 is 16/100, which is 0.16. And 7/25 is 0.28. All right, that is it for our concept. For our fluency practice. We are now going to start with our concept development. You're going to need your problem set packet. You're going to be looking at page 304, where at the top, it is Module 6, Lesson 20. We're looking at the problem set. And remember, our objective today was to use the coordinate system to solve real world problems. So, very similar to yesterday's lesson, there are 2 concept development problems before we go to exit ticket, before you go on to your homework and your exit ticket. All right, we're going straight into concept development, going straight into the problem set.